live streaming now, so if you don't want it heard, don't say.
Thanks for the warning.
Heard that happen.
Because I just have to make sure for it.
Yeah, you're fine. I don't know if there's gonna be.
If someone drops out.
Which one said there in the presentation? Yeah.
He's our boss.
Well, of course I will. Of course I will. You're gonna save my chicken for me.
Go on, Matt.
I'm really hoping. I looked at that. I looked today, so I'm in the log site. I wasn't sure, so I was like, I don't know. Yeah, it's where we get.
It's because of Joe, he wanted the bigger table. And then he goes, and then he retired.
Did he really ask for the bigger table?
That's all that means.
Oh, it was cute. I love it. I use it, I do for everything. Oh, no, I'm not right there. Oh, I'm just standing here.
I only have one more chair.
But yeah, I don't think. No.
Unless he got sick.
I honestly, I didn't look at it, I was saying.
But I don't want to touch too much, I'm afraid it was funny.
Yeah,
But I did look at it.
oh, yeah.
But it's still, I think it's just getting more like.
It's gotta be somewhere. Oh, yeah.
And I on TV now.
Well, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'm just like a crazy person, and I thought I would think it would maybe his questions were else. I called like the week leading up to that day. I called every place, so I'm gonna try for I think that we're both
Come donate.
Tom Howell's lesson. Tomorrow I'm going Midwest meeting tomorrow to find out if I have to because I have like a backup one, backup with wires. And that's what I like message pictures. And I was like, can you tell me what that is?
And don't tell me.
It's got to. Like, I mean, I'm pretty all over the place in the first part, but like all over the place. But I always find it.
Yeah, and you get the car.
I have, I'm gonna check it out, everything out. I'm you'll be my first mom. I'll let you know, don't worry.
I'm just kidding.
Started my infrastructure meeting with Jeff last night, came into the house. So this will be a good drive.
Beth, we don't have a chamberlain here. So he's coming.
Work on what we're doing. And
Part
then,
of
of
it.
course, I've got the public safety one.
Good afternoon. We're just going to wait a minute until we try to accommodate everyone before we convene the meeting.
Get something going.
Okay.
City emergency.
Dean, I have to call the meeting to order though and have roll call. Right?
But I do have some ideas about the public safety. And I have it working. A whole bunch of things. Some things I just can't get out. I can final answer on, so attack it from the budget That's kind of what I can't get any traction.
All right. Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Government Operations and Strategy Committee.
Counselor Armstrong,
Here.
Counselor McFarland, Mayor Reed, Counselor Kelly,
Here.
Counselor Gibbs,
Here.
Counselor Ensel,
Here.
Counselor Moore,
Is this for us?
Thank you all for coming. It's really gratifying to see such a crowd and a bunch of interested constituents who are engaged in what is going on in their government, and I will do my best to supply you with information that's helpful and thorough. We're just needing somebody to boot up the slideshow. So our committee, and that consists of Patrick McFarland and I, had decided that we should look into the recreation complex. And as I've communicated with many of you who've reached out to me, I prepared this presentation in order to try to let you know what we're thinking of. No decisions will be made tonight, and I really made an effort to supply that information to everyone who reached out to me. This is not an axe-cutting session. This is an informational session. So, you might want to pivot, because you're gonna, you may want to just turn around and put your seats the other way so you can see.
Will this information be available after the meeting in a manner that can be downloaded?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Come to think of it, I probably should have had the chairs set up this way, but at some point you would have to turn around and look this way, so hope you don't mind the inconvenience. Everybody comfortable?
Could somebody hit the lights in that back corner, please? Just the ones in the back. Thank you.
So, once again, this is a meeting of the Government Operations and Strategy Committee. Next slide. So, just a little piece of background. We produced this report, Patrick and I, gathering information in collaboration with the Finance Committee, who's made up of Counselor Kelly and Jeff Moore. And we're going to be reviewing 4 facilities in the rec complex. And I just want you to note down there at the bottom, this examination doesn't take into account the city parks, which occupy a different place in the budget. Yes, and now I'd like to introduce Director of Community Development. Just go backtrack, please, Richard. He'd just like to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Rochelle. Before we get into the analysis, I just wanted to say that a lot of the figures you're going to see are going to be surprising to a lot of people, but I want everyone to understand that these in no way reflect the work that is done by the members of the rec department. They do an incredible job. 95% of the figures that you'll see today are not within our control. They are payroll costs, they are maintenance costs, they are part of the reality of running a large municipal recreation department with a series of aging facilities. So, just as a...
Thank you, and I really appreciate your acknowledgement of your staff. So, next slide. So, what precipitated this investigation? And it's been, a kind of question that we've held since July when we began gathering information. So here are some concerns. The rec complex is consistently, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong slide in front of my own face. All right. It's consistently been subsidized by the general fund. Some of its facilities are deteriorating. Capital improvements and ADA compliance have been deferred. And, just as we were kind of uncovering some of the information about this, it just so happened that the Livable Community Committee came before the council to deliver its report that, and they expressed their own concerns about our facilities. Next slide. So here's the purpose of the report. Here's what you should expect. We want to present you, the public, with budgetary facts, and of course the council as well. Okay. Yeah. And we want to look at the picture in the short term and the long term. We want to pose essential questions about the fiscal challenges, community benefit, and future priorities for recreation services. So that's kind of behind the thinking behind the whole report. Now, we went through a process, and I just want you to be aware that we've been careful. So we asked for certain kinds of data, public use data, costs, personnel, operational, capital spending, and debt service, revenue. We toured the sites and assessed infrastructural strengths and weaknesses. We spoke to Director Miller and his staff concerning these matters. Then we met along the way with the Finance Committee and Chamberlain Marks to discuss the budgetary aspect of everything. There'll always be technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience. So, let me just start out by saying this report is designed to take a look at true costs. So let's pay attention really carefully to this part. So it's historically, for accounting purposes, the city has tracked costs and revenue in the Munis accounting system. This is the information we see during any budget report. However, when data is displayed in this manner, it can be difficult to recognize the true costs and true revenues. So in this budget analysis, the presentation will be laid out to express true costs as if conducting a strategic analysis. So that doesn't mean the data that everybody knows about is different. It just means it's being represented in a way to expose true costs. I'd just like to add, by way of, just to go back again to the previous slide, the way our accounting system presents financial data is not really amenable to a good understanding of the true costs, nor the true revenues. Most of our services allow open access for all of our residents, and hence, the distinction between costs and revenues isn't really accounted for. It's problematic, however, when we must determine the subsidies city taxpayers make to some activities that are in the category of fee for service. Such activities that are assumed to cover their costs, it is important to relate the revenue they generate to their costs so taxpayers can clearly understand the cost to our 5,000 property owners who ultimately bear any shortfalls. Okay, so here's the type of differences you're going to see in this analysis that aren't necessarily in our Munis system. So typically, and this one is the most important as far as I'm concerned, typically when the rec complex, when we have those shortfalls, they're covered by the inter-fund transfers from the general fund. Historically, these transfers are counted as revenue. Since interfund transfers are basically subsidies, we decided not to include them in the revenue for this analysis. Another thing that we changed in the way we conducted our analysis is this. Though DPW supports many city operations, the cost of their labor has not been reflected in department budgets. These costs will be expressed in this analysis because it is important to evaluate whether DPW's work at RecCom is a diversion from its central mission. Department of Public Works, sorry, for those people who don't know what DPW is. Okay, so, no questions right now, okay? Can you save that? So we're gonna be, well, I'll go back. Let's go back to the previous slide. Let's just absorb that. If you have a question, please make a note. All right. So we're gonna cover each facility, and we can go to the city beach now. So I just wanted, everybody knows what a jewel the city beach is. We have 0.6 miles of beachfront, and I happen to think it's one of the best views in the world. There are vendor buildings housing Cabana Beach, Party Factory, Polish Corner, which I didn't even know we had, windsurfing destination, watercross venue, beach volleyball, and polar plunge. All right, so here are the estimates I received from Community Development. In 2018, we had approximately 27,587 visitors, 2/3 of which were Canadian and a third who were US citizens. And in 2019, visitor totals were up 36,167, and we broke this down into city and town residents, 13,660, and 20,000 Canadians. And then, of course, the others, who knows who they were, but they were there. So, next slide. So, keeping in mind that we're trying to represent, gee whiz.
Yeah, that's a fair one.
Yeah. So, keeping in mind that we're trying to analyze the complex in terms of their actual costs and revenues. And these are figures that we got from the, and I think I was supposed to let you give an overall summary, wasn't I?
If you want me to take a look at that at this point, I can.
Yeah, I think we'll backtrack. Sorry, guys, I was supposed to have Chamberlain Marks kind of give you the broad picture of the whole complex and show where we derive our numbers, given this analysis.
You've changed enough on me.
Okay, that's microscopic, so we have to magnify that.
Did we get a copy of this, each of us? It's kind of hard to follow it.
Yeah, we're gonna take, all we're doing here, fair question, is to show you, he's gonna walk us through the way he's analyzed it this way and give us the kind of global view. And then, as you saw, I started to show you slides that describe the figures. So you'll get to see it in a more digestible form.
But can you see the entire budget that you're using to come up with these, whatever
I'm sure we
evaluations
can.
that you have made?
I'm sure we can.
Thank you.
Sorry, folks. We did a run through this and tried to work out the kinks, but apparently there'll always be technical difficulties, and I do appreciate your patience. All right, so the purpose of the Chamberlain standing up here before you, in part, is to give a global view, but another part is to show you that we vetted these figures. These are figures that are reliable and have the stamp of certification from our Chamberlain. Thank you.
This analysis shows the 2018 actual results, and they're based on all the actual posted costs from 2018.
Gotta speak up.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
And they're based on all the actual costs from 2018 that were posted to the accounts. And it takes and analyzes the cost for the rec complex by individuals like the beach, crate, gym, and the marina. It also takes and allocates the indirect administration costs. Is there a question out there?
No, there's no.
Okay. So it takes the indirect costs and it allocates them based on assumptions for historical reference for labor, posting, and for actual expenses. So the actual results are here. Revenue was 545,000 versus department costs of 1,107,000. Also added in here is an assumption of $40,000 for additional DPW support. And what's not included in here is the $488,000 that was used to supplement the fund last year to arrive at an actual $34,000 posted loss. So the true loss on the operations, $562,000 in 2018. So that analysis shows the actual from 2018, and it's expanded in this fashion from what we do in Munis normally to show the different costs for the different sites and the individual operating results. The beach, the crate, the gym, the marina.
All of those in deficit.
So for 2019, took and came up with the same analysis based on the September results and projections for the last 3 months of the year. Allocations were based on the same method. Once again, you can allocate on any method you want to that you think makes sense, but what this is based on historical use of labor percentages and actual cost percentages for posted services for supplies and services. And the projected results are department costs of $1,206,735 versus a rec complex revenue a projection of $571. Also assumed is $40,000 of DPW support costs. Those aren't actually posted in that fund, but that's the assumption being made for those costs to be shared.
All right, thank you.
Are we gonna be able to get a copy of that?
So we're going to go to the beach summary. I already described what the facility looks like. User, I think we did that, yes. So the beach summary. So what I'm doing is summarizing what he displayed according to the analysis that we're applying here. Just want to review the fact that we're not going to include the interfund transfer that is given every year, as far as I can remember, and counted as revenue, because that doesn't reflect what the real revenues are. So, total costs in 2018, $142,564. Total revenue, $68,110, with a net loss of $74,453. For 2019, we have costs listed as $140,295, total revenue $87,569, and a net loss, projected loss of $52,726.
The costs are pretty consistent from last year to this year. These are projected, once again, 9 months actual and projections for the last 3 months. See, they're pretty consistent, but the revenue increase of $20,000 roughly reflects the difference in the lower net loss. Better results with the revenue at the beach this year, guys.
Yes, that was good. All right, so we're going to go on to the marina. As you know, this was developed fairly recently, 2014 and 15. We have 36 slips, 25 moorings. NAV Tours, who actually we did hire to manage the beach last year, but now we manage the beach with our own staff. Marina. I'm sorry, Marina. And NAV Tours is the anchor tenant providing charter cruises. And you've probably been down to the marina and seen its lovely office space and bathroom facilities. These are the usage figures we got from CD. In 2018 and 19, 100% of the slips were occupied during the season, and the majority of occupants were Canadian vessels. There's a long waiting list for 2020. Moorings are a mix of longer leases and transients. These are consistently booked to capacity, so it's a thriving enterprise. However, so we look at the numbers. I mean, it's a popular place is what I mean to say. But here are the figures. Applying the analysis for this true cost purpose. Total cost, $183,843. Revenue, $118,367. Net results 65 to the loss of 1,476. And projected for 2019, a cost of 248,406. I'm sorry. I can't hear myself, guys. That's the teacher in me. 248,624, revenue of 102,731, with a net loss of 145,893.
Rochelle, does that include Wilcox?
No.
No. So once again, in comparison to last year, costs are up dramatically this year, and it's mostly due to labor in the marina for temporary employees, as well as direct costing from Public Works for one employee. And the revenues, of course, are down about 16,000, so that accounts for the difference in the net loss last year of 65 versus 146 this year.
And the difference in payroll is largely attributable to the fact that this year is the first year that the city has fully staffed the marina for the duration of the season. Before that, NAF was have a management contract with the city.
Okay. On to the base gym. Okay, so our beloved gym is part of the former Air Force Base, built in 1934. It's on the historic registry, acquired in the 2000s from Park. Approximately 63,000 square feet with an indoor track, gym space for basketball, pickleball, rooms for events, cardio and weight rooms, a driving range, a racquetball courts, and multi-purpose rooms. And again, CD supplied us with this, and I will just explain the slide, but I have some additional explanation for it. So estimates of usage are based on check-in data, that is what is scanned. It doesn't account for events, tournaments, etc. The check-in system is not set up to track the residencies of these entrants. And you know, there's some discussion of temporary or permanent employee categories, and all of those entrants were assumed to be city residents. We can't support that by data, but just long story short, this is an estimate. So 21,533 check-ins, represented as 69% residents. And then 9,836 check-ins, 31% non-residents. And these are estimates, just try to hold that thought. Now, we also had to take into account the membership fees, $299 per year or $29 per month. I'm a member, I'm happy with that fee. Or $359 per year or $35 per month for non-residents. So these membership fees, you may know just from experience, are considerably less expensive compared to memberships at the Y, Wellness Center, Eclipse, but not Planet Fitness. Yeah. So 2018 actual costs and revenues. We had a total cost at $494,752 versus revenue of 2018 976. Net results being a loss of 275,776.
I just wanted to point out, it may have been mentioned before, but the cost figures that you see, those include the long-term debt service costs that have improved the various facilities based on improvements that have been completed over the years.
Yeah, and that's true of all of these gross costs numbers. It includes personnel, operational expenses, debt service, you know, a number of things. And sorry if you didn't kind of catch on to that when the Chamberlain was showing the kind of global picture.
I think on an annual basis, Rich, is it 250 grand a year?
I'm going to ask for order. Thank you. So go ahead, Matt.
That question?
Total debt service payments for Rec Complex annually, it's about 250K.
235 last year, 243 this year.
So debt service, that's just what we pay on the bonds that we've floated in the past. Okay?
It's gonna drop
For capital improvements, sorry.
Yeah, what is this supposed to be, 2020?
2020 is supposed to drop down to about 197 because there's a couple of items going off the board being paid off. The 2004 debt's going away and it's being reduced on some of the others for the amortization schedule.
Okay. 2019, costs include 498,963, revenue 237,070. Net, a loss of 261,893.
And once again, to compare, doing a little bit better this year on the projected net loss of 262 versus 275. Total costs are pretty consistent within $4,000. Looking like the revenue is up this year to help reduce the loss from last year.
Okay, on to the Crate Center. Built in the 70s, located in the beach complex, 49,000 square feet, once an ice arena. And usage, trade shows, other kinds of shows, regional attendees estimated at 12,000, winter indoor soccer leagues. We got breakdown from the Community Development Office that city residents amount to about 5,150 individuals, or 43%. Non-city residents, 6,850 individuals at 57%, total of 12,000 individuals. So, looking at 2018, we had costs of $285,915, revenue of $139,687, with a net of a loss of $146,228. And projected for 2019, costs of $318,853, revenue $144,015, and then a net loss of $174,838.
Does that include the debt service payment as well?
Everything
Yes.
does.
What is that one? I was just, because you told us what Jim was.
Counselor Armstrong, could we continue with the presentation? It's
Yeah.
lengthy and we don't have time to get into
Right.
an open forum.
I think you can trust that the Chamberlain
I just
is,
wondered, because you told us the last one.
yeah,
that
I
wasn't
understand.
Which
So
year
go
do you
ahead.
wanna look at?
2019.
2019, there's debt service for the beach, the crate, the gym, the marina, 243,000 overall.
Great, it's 35,000,
Right.
or 37,000.
Thank you for that clarification.
What was that?
Thank you for the clarification. Did I go over the actuals for the crate yet?
No,
For the
not yet, but
2019?
Looking back on the debt service rate.
Yeah, you did.
Beach, crate, gym, marina. 239 wasn't 235.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we went over the 2018, now we're to the 2019. Did I go over this already?
Well, by
Yes.
comparison, once again,
All right.
the revenue's pretty consistent, the costs are up, that's why the loss is gonna be up.
All right. So we're going to be summarizing here. In unpacking budget numbers, hidden costs and expenses that have been deferred and not accounted for in previous analyses are uncovered. So I'm just summarizing again what I think I've stated before. Interfund transfers have subsidized the facilities. They're not reflected in these true costs and revenues. Investment in the RecCom facilities has been neglected for decades. And you know, I'm not trying to cast blame anywhere here. I'm just saying this is the state of affairs, and we now are looking at facilities that are, some of which are in decline. Because of budgetary stress, some maintenance and repair costs have been deferred. And so I'd just like you to reflect on this. This has resulted in annual repairs or Band-Aids being applied when an operation was necessary. For example, I like to use the Crate Center as an example. We have an average cost of about $30,000 a year to patch the roof at the Crate Center. Those are numbers I got. And so, that's a huge thing. And at what point do you decide, well, I better replace the roof, because I'm sinking money into a money pit. So another thing that's kind of been deferred is we received reports about ADA compliance, and we've had that information for some time, but those repairs to bring the facilities into compliance have been deferred. And so what about that? We have to think about that. So I think this calls up the need in the next slide to consider what is the strategic long-term plan here? Can we sustain the way we are going? I think it's a realistic, though difficult, kind of look at the way we do things. So, rec complex facilities offer recreational opportunities to the city and regional patrons. Oops, that is something that we cannot ignore. That's part of the equation. Maintenance of recreational assets have been deferred and funds are stretched thin. This year, the general fund will need to subsidize $635,351 for the rec com. When maintenance, repair, and renovation is deferred, facilities deteriorate, adding to more costs and decline in services. These facts and assumptions point to the need for strategic planning and consideration of long-term investments. So this is the part where we're brainstorming and we're trying to offer, trying to give you a picture of where we are financially with the RecCom facilities. So now this part is devoted to a lot of what ifs. What are our options? My job is to present the council with certain information, considering all variables so that the council can eventually make a sound budgetary decision. And I don't take this responsibility lightly. So possible solutions. Emphasize the word possible. If we finally confront the facts about the recreation complex and consider the long-term financial and social impact of our decisions, this may be difficult, but it's necessary. Our mission is to evaluate what recreational services the city can offer and sustain to benefit the public. So, again, brainstorming. The city could choose to renovate aging facilities and stem further decay. What might a capital plan that renovates the two structures that are in need of the most extensive repairs? And they are the gym and the Crate Center. Just my humble opinion, concurred by, I think, Counselor. All right, so how would investing in the gym affect the budget? So I'm going to propose to you some things that we could do to bring the facility up to par. Consider projections expressed in the spreadsheet here. So go on to the spreadsheet. Whoops. Not there. It's the one I have. It's a proactive capital plan for the gym. It's on my slideshow. Not ready for you there yet.
All right.
All right, so the next slide. There you go. So what I want to say here is that these figures are not based on an engineer's evaluation. They represent consideration of the possible repairs needed in order to make the gym a sound structure and bring it into ADA compliance. Assumptions were made in order to explore this as a possible investment. After reviewing these, we will refer to an analysis that reflects the impact of the capital expenditures on a future budget. So, as you can see, I don't think I'll ask Richard to show you at this point the list of suggestions on the study that was done of all the measures that need to be taken into account to be in compliance. But one of them is an elevator, and you can see that noted there.
Did we get that, where'd that quote come from, the 200,000? I had 95, a quote for $95,000 for an elevator.
For an elevator?
Yeah, yeah, it's quoted out, it's,
You've done the quoting.
yeah, well, the management before we
You-
did, we had it as 95. You got it from the company, yeah.
Okay, well,
can
that's
do
good
that.
information. I got different information and, okay.
Yeah, that quote was from the elevator.
Hold on. Excuse me.
Did that include the shaft in the building too?
I don't know, I'd have to look at it to see, I don't, he said he probably didn't, so maybe that's
I think
why.
that was just the
We
elevator.
discussed this at length, Ted, and we were considering, you know, a shaft, 3 stories. So, we can look into that. You know, this is for the purpose of just trying to explore what might need to be renovated. It's, as I said to begin with, nobody's certified the fact that these indeed would be the costs. We're just throwing this out as a what if.
Okay,
Okay.
I just wanna make sure they're close to accurate, make sure they're.
Absolutely.
I've never seen the 1.8 million though for the repairs, I've never come across that number. Can we talk about that later?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Is this
Now, building,
I'm sorry.
no, building repairs, if we, I think we could safely say that these were estimated on the square footage of the building and, you know, kind of prevailing rates. They're debatable. I will accept that. I'm not here to, you know, try to disguise anything. I had a set of numbers I was working with, and if you want to challenge me, fair enough.
Just on one note, they are very, very optimistic estimates. I think the square footage was only multiplied times $35 a square foot for the renovations, which is pretty low by today's standards for renovating a building.
If you don't mind speaking up, because you were part of this brainstorming session.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a feeling that some of you are feeling kind of skeptical because of what you've seen is a discrepancy in an evaluation. Let's just keep in mind that these are hypothetical for just the purpose of projecting costs. Any strategic plan, if you were gonna do it, would rely on much more investigation, much lengthier, in-depth investigation. I will grant you that. But if you wanna go ahead and continue that point about how we arrived at these figures.
That was it.
That was it, okay.
We used a very optimistic estimate of the cost per square foot times the square footage in the building.
So the generalized square foot, okay, alright.
Oops. So we have to go back here because what I'm asking you to do, Richard, is to bring up that spreadsheet in which you've calculated the possible impact on the budget.
Okay. This is for the gym. We're talking about $2,755,200 being borrowed at 20 years, 3% interest rate would equate to another $185,193 debt service addition to the cost of the gym for a 20-year period, which would take it from the projected cost for 2019 of a $262,000 loss up to a $447,000 loss. That's provided you have everything done at the cost that we estimated, and it's financed at 20 years at 3%.
Now, you know, some of you are sitting here thinking, well, do we know that for sure? No, we don't. We've admitted that already. It's probably a worst-case scenario. I mean, in the case of the discrepancy between what Ted thought was the cost for an elevator and what we estimated, you know, it will all be debatable. But for just the sake of argument, please be patient and just hear the whole thing out.
What I do know for a fact is if it does cost $2,755,200 and is financed at 20 years for 3%, it is gonna come out to that number, $185,193. That's how the debt service would work. So you pay that amount every year for 20 years.
Okay, are we ready to go on? Okay, now we'll take a look at the Crate Center, and we do have credible, proven estimates on which to base what we will show you. Here we have a dilapidated building. I mean, McFarland and I toured it, and we've known since the McFarland and et al., an engineering company did an analysis of the entire beach complex and wrote up an extensive report that these are good extrapolations from what they reported at that time. So if you don't mind bringing up the McFarland report, I think Beth queued it for you.
It's on the desktop.
The band will be lower.
Thanks for your patience, folks. Right, so there's the title of that report, and if you could just scroll, I do believe, Beth, do you remember what page it was on? Okay, so they go through the entire facility and they evaluate every system. And at the end of it, they provide a narrative. And then at the end, there's a summary of everything that could be done. It presents all the options. Just keep going. Oops. Right.
So that's a total of demolition costs, $925,336.
Oh.
Right?
And Matt, maybe you could just, for the sake of a brevity, you could summarize what you know comes from that report.
Sure, the conclusions of the report essentially were that demolition of the crate itself, the surrounding structures, and the pavement in the parking lot will cost roughly a little less than $2 million. To completely renovate the crate and bring all the internal systems up to modern day and up to code would cost roughly $3 million.
How many?
$3 million.
3 million, yeah. And those were, estimates or their judgment about what would be needed in 2015. None of this is happy news. Nobody's happy about it. I'm not happy about it. You're not happy about it. So, but it's time to face the music. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get back to the slides. So, back to the chart of, what kind of investment would be needed in order to rehabilitate the crate. And this is an extrapolation from those lower figures in 2015. You have to do that to account for how costs rise. And then you were going to try to show the impact of that on the spreadsheet, Chamberlain Marks.
Yep. And that would work out to be about $242,000, where once again we're saying we're taking $3.6 million, this figure here, and we're saying 20 years at 3%. So $242,000 additional, which would add to the loss projected for the end of 2019 of $175,000, bring it to an annual loss of $417,000.
Richard, approximately what would that $242,000 be in tax? You would spread it out on, take that cost in your.
You mean the total or just for this?
For annually as far as
Okay.
a tax increase.
To do what?
If that had to be taken up by the taxpayers, what would go into taxes? 2%?
Probably, let's see,
About $50.
maybe about 2.5%. I call it 2%.
Are you talking about exclusively for the Crate
Yeah,
Center?
yeah, just that
Oh.
242.
That service
Just
would add about
that
2%
service.
to the tax levy,
Right.
provided that the general fund is going to supplement the budget to cover it. If the revenue was raised in the rec complex to cover that, then it wouldn't affect the tax
Right.
levy.
All right.
But I'm talking just the crate. Just the crate.
Yep.
All right. And at some point, maybe you'll be able to estimate, I think we might have an estimate for how that would affect, all of these changes would affect budget, but I'm not sure. Okay, so next slide. Another option, what if the city decided to enter into a licensed management agreement with the marina? How would it affect the budget? And I consulted with the Chamberlain about that, and he said that this would reduce losses to about 25 to 30,000 until the debt is retired in 2026. So it would save about $115,000 per year based on projected 2019 figures. Okay, so we're wrapping up here. So we've raised lots of questions. We've introduced lots of information. The public is interested. That's great. Where do we go from here? So this information we hope will guide budgeting decisions. What is a given, and it's an indisputable fact, that the recreation services enhance the quality of life, but what can the city afford in the short and long term? So here are some questions we might ask. Who do these facilities serve? How can the city best serve the greatest number of its residents? What values and facts should be considered in setting priorities? Should the city explore establishing private-public partnerships as it considers the future of some of the facilities? Is closure of some facilities a prudent solution? And this will kind of wrap up my presentation, but you might be interested in how we will reach a decision. So I believe the council must consider the information and all variables contained in this report. It will be important to consider the rec complex budget within the context of the entire 2020 budget. In no way do I want this to be singled out as the one and only route toward, finding solvency in the city budget. We will consider as a committee, we will consider feedback, make recommendations before our next meeting, November 7th, 2019. And that concludes my program. And you might want to, if you want to, you can use this time to turn your chairs around if you're going to stick around. At this time, I'd like to call for adjournment, a motion to adjourn.
You gotta move the items.
Oh, we gotta move, I didn't even see that in my agenda. Okay, so, where is it? All right,
Michelle,
thank
I'll make a motion to move items 1
you. All right,
5.
Patrick McFarland moves to move all the things on the agenda here to the regular agenda. Do I have a second? Oh, okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, is there any old business? Any new business? I call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Council Armstrong?
Yes.
Council McFarland?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes. So now we move into the work session. Is there anything on the agenda tonight that the council would like to have an opportunity to discuss in greater detail or ask any questions of our department heads?
So we're gonna have to have some time to.
Mayor, I wanted to ask about the request from John Ruff to accept the letter from the Clinton County Health Department. Item number 4.
John?
Maybe,
While he comes in, can I ask if there's any reports, additional reports that the council would like to offer? Let's begin with governance. I think you've just had a very elaborate meeting.
Yeah, I shouldn't say anything more.
Okay, any additional reports from City Infrastructure, Councilor Moore?
I don't have a whole lot except for that Councilor Gibbs and myself are compiling information for the budget through our presentation next week, so we're very busy with that.
Well, we'll actually do it over the course of 2 weeks according to your schedule. So Councilor Moore and I are trying to decide which aspect of the infrastructure we're going to present first. But we met last night and talked about the mayor's budget to take a look at item by item and talk about what we know regarding public works and the costs associated with the work they do. So gonna continue. I think did we tentatively schedule to meet again next week? We said that, right?
Yes.
Monday, yes, so we're gonna meet again next week.
Thank you. Counselor Kelly, Finance and Budget.
Nothing to add.
Public Library, Counselor Ensel.
No report.
MLD Board President, Counselor McFarland.
I have no updates at this time, but I probably will be reaching out to you soon because I want to get a tour of the new facilities over there at Sharon Avenue.
Terrific. No public safety.
Well, I don't have anything new to update, but Counselor Ansel and I were just having a little sidebar conversation that we need to get together and talk about the budget. I do have there have been a number of things that I've been working on in terms of staffing and overtime that I would really like to see come to its final conclusion in time to discuss for budget. So we'll have to get together and talk and work that out, so.
And I believe Counselor Kelly has some additional questions for Mr. Ruff.
Oh, yes, John, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Just wanted to know what happens if we do not agree to and authorize this corresponding stipulated agreement.
Yeah, the health department will then hold an administrative hearing and ask us to present evidence as to why we shouldn't be required to do the things they've asked us to do. And the hearing officer will make a determination and issue a final order. Now, it's important to note the things that they've asked us to do are tasks we already have in progress and we've already funded. So basically what this document does is it shows that the health department's exercising their due diligence, which is to make sure that we follow through on performing the tasks that are necessary to make sure the water supply is reliable.
And that we've already identified and are currently working on.
Correct.
So they're just providing oversight, would you say?
They regulate the drinking water system, so they inspect it every year. They look at our monthly monitoring reports, and ultimately, they're responsible for making sure that we do our jobs properly.
Okay. Okay, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the information.
Any other items for which the council would like to seek some additional discussion? Seeing none, if you like, we can take a 5-minute recess and begin our council meeting at 5:30 p.m. tonight.
Mr. Mayor, on item number 7B, where will that, the annual All Forge show, at the US Oval, I see it.
The one at the US Oval?
Yeah.
And the resolution.
So let's take a 2-minute recess and we'll begin in just a few minutes. Thank you for coming. I'm just gonna make a comment in the first couple of minutes.
Pardon me?
No.
We don't have public comment during a committee, any committee reports
Oh, yeah,
at the end of the regular meeting.
I forgot.
What? So why don't you ask him, because I don't know what he was talking about.
Absolutely. Leave messages at my office. My secretary's been on. I think I have like 54.
No, I don't really see how it's gonna be allowed to cite.
You can. Absolutely. So I couldn't get everyone speaking on the government subscribers meeting.
And now what we have
Because I thought you were going to try to get us. I'm going to try to get you on governance and strategy. And honestly, it's just, so I didn't know how to prepare that. Normally, like, you can always look at
But if you're not on the agenda, then you wait. Sounds good. And you
of that full well.
What this is?
It's like a national organization for Parks and Rec, and it was designed for Plattsburgh. I think we remember as far as like averages for like comparatively per capita, where we stand versus like the same capita and all the others in the US. It was a really neat organization that really helps us.
Do you have a digital copy you can send to all of the counselors? I hate like that. You have to sit there feeling targeted. I
understand that, but it's kind of going on. I see, if it's something where it's not needed, really it's now. It's totally, I just want to make sure everything's accurate. And everybody knows what.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't be coming in front of the whole city if we hadn't the right to do that, and you were within your rights to try to clarify. You know, I mean, we're just doing our best, right?
Here can
I mean, and hopefully we can help.
It's just very hard to separate everything out. And I was talking to Rick this morning, and he's doing a good job doing this to kind of figure out what the new costs with the jail. So it looks like it's getting a little better, a little clearer.
I mean, look at the participation. People are feeling like stakeholders. They want to have a say. And I will just say at the end of this all, if we could have this kind of turnout to review public safety, infrastructure, all of that, then we'd be doing good.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. I just want, like I said, I'd love to sit down and talk.
Your value as an employee.
Yeah, and I don't want to begin a representation because I'm obviously by default biased.
Of course.
So
I want to ask
I
a
get
quick
that.
question before they start.
Yeah, sorry.
But you can definitely speak then, and if you want to speak, next one.
Comments and
Email.
ideas and- Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I was thinking if you're doing like that, I know the press is here now, and
I don't have a pen.
they just did the presentation on it, so it seems rather relevant to speak today.
I just have to remember to get my stuff in
Councilor Kelly? Councilor Kelly, we begin. Beth, I'm going to begin.
Jeffrey, how's your
People are being buttonholed, so they're not coming to the meeting.
Councilor Gibbs is not here, right?
Oh, yeah, she wasn't gonna be here. So we're just waiting, there's Peter, we're not waiting for Elizabeth.
It's already 2 minutes after. Beth, I'm beginning now. I'm going to begin tonight's council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Harry,
Present.
Counselor Armstrong,
Here?
Kelly,
Here?
Counselor Gibbs, Counselor Ensel.
Here.
Counselor McFarland.
Here.
Counselor Moore. Here.
First of all, thank you all for coming tonight, and I really appreciate the very hard work on behalf of the council to do this very first of our major budget presentations. As you know, we divided our work up into a series of committees, each committee responsible for a number of departments, and I think this is one of the very best examples of doing the thorough analysis to digest some of the information that you all will obviously be discussing for a little while. And I also want to really extend my appreciation to all the various other groups that are assisting in this. We're talking about really two different things at this time. We're talking about recreation services, which I think we all value very highly. And I very much appreciate the conversations we're having with groups like the YMCA I know you've been discussing this, our representative from the YMCA has been discussing this at the same time with the hospital, and we've been discussing these issues with the county, and really trying to make an effort to collaborate to make sure that we have a healthy community, has access to recreation services, and those conversations have to and will continue to, will continue no matter what decisions you make fiscally. But you're wrestling with something slightly different. You're wrestling with physical structures and how to maintain them. You're not wrestling with stopping delivering recreational services. So you need to make that very important distinction. I think you did it very well, because obviously we all value the recreational opportunities for our residents and also for the much broader community that enjoy our facilities. So those discussions are going to continue, and I very much appreciate the openness and open-mindedness of the groups that we're talking with right now and collaborating with, and thank you for your participation. And I thank you again for all your very hard work in putting this together. I think that your committee has set a very high bar for some of the upcoming presentations, but I know they're going to rise to the occasion as well, and I know that Councillor Kelly, your finance committee is going to appreciate all that good effort in the end too. So I think this is difficult. It has been difficult, but this is the kind of data-driven steps that we have to go through to make sure we make a very well-informed decision at the end. So thank you very much for your work, and that concludes my comments.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on September 26, 2019 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councillor Ensel, second by Councillor Armstrong. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending October 2nd, 2019 in the amount of $61,243.73 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councillor Moore and second by Councillor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. In addition to the reports that you had delivered to you, fire and ambulance, building inspection, police department, public safety, city clerks, and animal rescue services, are there any additional reports you'd like to make at this time for your various committees? Knowing that you just made some during our work session, resolved that the reports as listed are hereby ordered received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councillor Armstrong, second by Councillor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. No correspondences or recommendations from boards at this time. Please continue.
Resolved that the bills ordered by the Common Council for the week ending September 27th, 2019, ending October 4th, 2019, in the amount of $358,234.45 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councillor Moore and second by Councillor
I think, do we need to amend the date in the minute, or in the, on the agenda? No? Okay.
Any further discussion? Apparently not. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. At this time, we'd like to take the first of our public comment periods. This public comment period, to begin with, is on items that are on the agenda tonight, not on the work session, not on the committee reports, but actually on the agenda tonight. There will be another public comment period at the end of the session as well for any topics of mutual concern. So if you'd like to discuss anything on the agenda tonight, including the reports, please come forward. Seeing none, please continue.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves a holiday parade on Saturday, December 7th, 2019 at 5 p.m. The route will begin on Beekman Street, travel down Brinkerhoff Street, turn left onto Oak Street, right onto Court Street, and then right onto Margaret Street. It will proceed to Pine Street, ending behind Stafford Middle School. This is to coincide with the Strand Center for the Arts tree lighting.
Moved by Councillor Armstrong, second by Councillor McFarland. Discussion? Roll call?
Councillor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councillor Kelly?
Yes.
Councillor Ensel?
Yes.
Councillor McFarland?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves the North Country Mustang Club to hold their annual All Ford Show at the U.S. Oval on Sunday, July 26, 2020. They request electricity and tents will be erected a utility fee of $20 for electricity, a certificate of insurance for the event, and vendors, porta potties, dig safe permits, and health department requirements for vendors are required.
Moved by Councilor Ansel, second by Councilor Moore. Discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Ansel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves of the mayor is authorized to sign an agreement with Bass LLC and Adirondack Coast Visitors Bureau to host Bass 2020 Bassmaster Elite Service Fishing Tournament on July 30th through August 2nd, 2020.
Moved by Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Moore. Discussion?
Mayor, these items that we've just considered, A, B, and C, all require a great deal of work from our Public Works Department. And as Councilor Armstrong pointed out tonight, they do a tremendous amount of work for each of our departments. Any type of recreational activity or street closing or any other type of event we do, they're always there. And I think them and the police department and probably the fire department to some extent all deserve to be commended for the fine work they do.
And I think I shared with you at Councilor Gibbs' request an annotation of the various activities and costs associated with some of the DPW work. And as you know, when we put on special events, we do articulate the various costs to the fire and police department as well. So
Yes.
You're right in the point you're making. Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Resolved, Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Ansel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council accepts the September 9th, 2019 letter from the Clinton County Health Department and agrees to and authorizes entry into the corresponding stipulated agreement.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Ansel. Discussion? Thank you for your explanation, Mr. Ruff, on this. Seeing none, roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Ansel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Beth, I'd like to waive reading and move to resolution on item E.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Ansel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion of the item itself. Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Ansel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Sure.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
There's no travel requests at this time. Are there any resolutions for initial consideration? Any new business or additional council reports? Councilor Ansel?
Yes, I actually received an email today from a constituent, and I happen to agree with them because living in the area, there seems to be, when they blast at the quarry, on Quarry Road, it seems as if they are a little more forceful as of the past couple of months, and not to the fact that just the windows are shaking, but actually you can feel building shaking.
Wow.
And just wondering if there's anything that we, as a body, I know the actual plant is located in the town, but it is impacting the quality of life of people in the North End and the Fourth Ward.
Our council can certainly research that issue with regard to the town-city line, but the council also passed a noise ordinance, so one thing we can do is check to make sure.
Well, it's not,
the noises-
it's not noisy. It won't violate the noise ordinance, but it does make structures in the area shake.
We'll look into that and see if there's been any past precedent on that as
I
well.
don't know if they're using more dynamite or, thank you.
Councilor Armstrong?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment and extend my appreciation. I'm sure my colleagues will agree that your willingness to come out and hear the information we have to present is very much appreciated. And I think it's an indication of vigorous public engagement. I hope that we have a budget review that will be being conducted over the next few weeks. I hope that you will expressed similar kinds of enthusiasm and, kind of a need to know about those too. They are live streamed every week. I know some people who just want to be, informed. They just sit, if they can't come to the meeting, they sit and they watch their live stream, so you know exactly what was said, exactly the decisions that were made. I've had a request to put this PowerPoint online, and I will follow up with that. I believe there were some other spreadsheets that people had requested, and I'll make sure those are there too.
And I'd like to thank Rochelle for all her hard work on that. She definitely
You
worked
helped.
very hard.
You
Very
helped.
little.
Any other additional new business or council reports? Seeing none, now this is an opportunity for the public to please come and address the council on any issues of mutual concern. We do have our organizational rules that if a number of you want to speak on one side of a certain issue, we ask you to appoint 2 representatives, and each, please confine your remarks to 5 minutes each. Please come forward and state your name, your address, and your area of interest.
Just come right up here so you can be amplified.
If it pleases the court.
You should bring your pickleball paddle.
Good evening, good
Just as long
afternoon.
as you don't whack me.
No, no whack.
Okay.
Good afternoon, councilors. Thank you for allowing us a couple moments to speak on behalf of the Rec Center. My name is Jim Howard, live in the Morrisonville area, and I'm here on behalf of the hundreds of people who play pickleball in your city, in our town, and in our county. It is an amazing sport. It is more than just a sport. We had a wonderful reporter from WCAX at the gym yesterday, and we tried to mention that this is more than playing a game. The evidence, there are 2 pieces, all you need to play the sport, it is much more than recreation. And I'd like to take 3 minutes just to explain why it's more than recreation. To call it a rec center would be kind of like a town with no stoplights. You'd be through it and not notice anything in particular, anything special about that town. I notice you use an acronym to describe your committee work, so I have an acronym for you. It's WHIF, W-H-I-F. The W stands for well-being. The rec center provides us pickleball players, weightlifters, runners, whatever, during inclement time and good times, provides us an opportunity for well-being. Not just health, but the social fabric of our community when we play together is amazing. Again, we asked the reporter just to listen to the folks while they're playing. In addition to the obnoxious sound of the paddle and the ball, there's just laughter, harmony, and good feelings. Nobody talks politics. We don't even know each other's last name for the most part. It's like a Cheers bar without the alcohol. When you walk in there in the morning, everybody says, hello, how are you? How was your day? WHIF, well, W. H is health. It is a healthy sport. You run, your reflexes are challenged, and again, we notice that if you look around the people that are playing, we all have some kind of issue we're dealing with.
Yeah.
We have an ankle brace, a back brace, a wrist brace, kneecap braces. It's amazing, but we still come nearly every day to practice this sport because we enjoy being together. The I stands for you in that everyone is invited. You don't need an invitation specific to play. You don't have to have a court time. I used to be a racquetball player. You had to get a court, you had to get a buddy, you have to do all that. Just show up. If you don't know how to play, we'll teach you. If you do know how to play, we'll try to knock your socks off. Competition is fun, but the games only last to 11 points, so then you're done, you can stop pouting, and then you play the next game. F is for family. We are family, just like we are in this city of Plattsburgh, the town of Plattsburgh, and the county of Clinton. We try to be a family. We have supported. We've had deaths among our family. We've had rejoicement among our family, but we stick together, thick or thin. The other F,
Yeah.
the real reason that I play pickleball is because then I can eat whatever I want all day long. Oreo's my vegetable of choice. But I know some of my folks are here today. I'm not the only one. We get tremendous exercise. We play together every day, nearly every day for some of us when we're healing. And we change our community fabric. We have made it better. We know we have. We've made it better just by being here tonight. So thank you very much for listening, and we know you have a tough decision ahead of you. We hope you'll keep our gym open. Thank you.
May I ask you a question?
Thank you.
If you've got a moment? Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Obviously, I think everybody in this room agrees with absolutely everything you said. Can you give us any more guidance or additional guidance on how we can keep this funded in a sustainable way and share those costs across a much broader community?
Good question. I used to be part of a school system where we did this annually. It's not an easy process. I think we have people that are sitting right here that would be willing to come at some of your meetings and suggest some ideas. We do have possibility of grants, possibility of balancing in other areas, but I agree. Let's not just say, oh, we can't come up with a solution, let's close it. I'm sure there will be a solution.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. You're welcome.
Any other individuals like to please come up and address the council?
Hi, I'm Peter Regnier, business owner and property owner here in the city. I know this is a tough decision, but a lot of times in life, things aren't a zero-sum equation. There's been quotes in the media about having to use the general fund to help sustain these. Well, that's, in my opinion, that's part of what the general fund is for. It really is a quality of life scenario with these recreation departments. And I think one thing that would help is possibly entering into a contract with a promoter for the Creed Center. Some of these professional promoting companies will have, Live Nation is a theater promoter, and I don't know if they would be interested in the Creed Center, but a promotion company like that, if you let them operate and bring in shows, I think the Creed Center could generate some industrial money. I know you've got a tough problem to solve, but closing that gym and reducing what limited resources we have for quality of life, I think it would be detrimental as a city. The other thing is, when I came in, I saw Officer Miller there. Now, I've had the opportunity to work with Officer Miller a number of times, and I read that there's grant money that could run out, and possibly that office may close. That is such a bright spot in the city. Since he's been there, he's done such wonderful things with the kids and with everybody, and I really urge us as a city to find a way to make that office permanent. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your ideas.
Kirsten Recor, and often I've thought about coming to these meetings, but I never have. I'm sure I'm not the only one in that boat. In fact, I would dare say that the majority of this room has never been to one of these meetings before. So you've caught our attention. You have in this room a tremendous amount of skill and knowledge and business fortitude that I think that would be sorely missed if it wasn't drawn upon. I would suggest the possibility of soliciting a working group for the updates on the 2 dilapidated buildings. Request people to send in a sheet of interest. Why would you want to be part of the working group? What skills do you bring to the table? Select a group of 20 or so folks on that working group and move forward with, instead of closing those centers, making those centers up to date, profitable, desirable. Along the bike trail, you've got a lot of development. We now have 3 parks along that bike trail behind the rec center, and all of the housing is developing quite nicely there. I live in that district. I walk that bike trail almost every day, or run it, or bike it, or multiple times a day, and I can tell you that this summer there has been a large uptick in traffic on that bike trail. So I think that it would be a real mistake to think about closing these buildings down instead of drawing on the collective efforts of the people that you have here to create a solution. I know you need to work on the budget soon and have it finished for 2020. Assuming that the general fund can continue to support it into 2020, if we created a working group to fix the buildings, I think you'd be surprised what this community can pull out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional individuals like to please come up and address the council?
Hello, everybody. Brad Miller. I'm not here as a police officer, although I'm kind of dressed like one because there was a major accident when I was on my way home to change. So I'm here as John Q. citizen. Just to give you a little background, I got 34 years of history with the City Rec Department, formerly known as the Plattsburgh Air Force Base Gym. And just to give you a quick rundown, my dad was a drunk. When I was 14 years old, I used to sneak in the gym. Yeah, a cop is telling you. I used to sneak into a facility, but it kept me out of trouble. I had people that were mentors. It made me into the person I am today. And I'm here to stand up, like everybody else, for what's right. And one of the things that I'd like to say is, make it happen. Do what you can. There are people that I've spoken to, dozens, if not maybe 100 people. If the rates increased 20% to $6 a month, would you do it? Everybody I spoke to said absolutely 100%. There's a connection there with people. That's what I do for a living. For 17 years as a cop on the street, all I wanted to do was connect with people. 90% of the time it was negative. It was a, domestic dispute, an accident, a suicide. That's not how I want to connect with people. I want to connect with people with life as they're living. Everybody in here is living. I just want to take a stand and let people know that I support everything that the city has done through the City Rec Department. It's not just a weight room. There is martial arts, there's dance studios, there's children's birthday parties, they've coordinated some events with me to help out with the community. What that building is it is a community. It's not a gym, it's not a rec center, it's a community rec center. And I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to let you know my personal experience, and it takes something to get off my chest, some of the things that I've experienced in my life, but I wanted to share that with you guys, and hopefully we can keep it open. And if anyone needs anything, I also am a resource, so I could sit down and share some words with some people. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Miller, Mr. Miller, do you have any ideas of how we can share the cost across that greater community you discussed?
The 20% increase I just had in my head, it would increase the gym rates roughly $6 for each membership. I've heard different memberships are 800 to 1,000. I don't know what the actual number is. If it is 1,000 members at $6 a member, when you do the math, that's $6,000. Is that $6,000 a month times 12 months? Which would help with the cost. I've also spoken to people that are willing to come together collectively, and if something needs painted, we have painters that can paint at no charge. It's what I've done, as you know, Mayor. I've done a lot of things with people in the community because we connect with each other, we network, and we try to find a way. And that's what my theme is find a way. Let's find a way to keep this open. If somebody's a painter, if somebody is an electrician, if somebody is a trainer, if somebody, whatever we need to do as a community, let's find a way.
Thank you. Any other individuals like to come and offer an additional perspective that hasn't been shared already?
Good afternoon. That's familiar. My name is Steve Peters. I'm the former superintendent of recreation, and I'm uniquely qualified, I think, to speak on this topic because I spent 10 years, almost 10 years, working to achieve the goals that you've outlined, or you're outlining on your budget. And sadly, that's never really changed. I, more than anyone, and I say this with confidence, have evaluated, looked at all the different angles, know multiple different solutions and different management structures that would maybe align with your goals. I still have those. I still have those plans. There's parks districts, there's regional commissions, there's nonprofit organizations, and I've mapped a lot of those out. I've tried to kind of advocate for that. And Mayor, you know, man, we've talked about trying to make, you know, if it's the Crate or the beach, a more of a regional facility, and we agree on that. Like that, it needs to be. And I actually spent some time trying to make that happen, you know, a few years ago, and we just never got there. So I do have solutions. I don't know if they're going to work 100%. There was a term Councilor Kelly used last week called revenue neutral, and there's almost no recreation agency in the country that is, because as another gentleman had mentioned before, that's part of what the general fund actually goes to. So I would actually suggest you look at what you think you can sustain as a contribution, and then let's work backward from that point. I volunteer any hour of any day without agenda to assist in this effort because I've spent quite a bit of time trying to build up these facilities, but it was never for me. It was for the people behind me that I know have changed their lives, that I know have made a difference. And the thing that is, I think, a little scary, should be scary for the region, is not the opportunities that they've had, but the opportunities that people won't have if these facilities close. What are we stealing? And that's what has to be looked at. It isn't a zero sum. And as I said, I stand here and I urge you, please, 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 I will help. I have no agenda. I'm very happy where I am and what I'm doing with my life, but I really want to see this region become a better place. And it cannot be done by closing these facilities. I assure you of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other individuals, please offer a different perspective. We've had many advocates, and I think the council very well understands that. So we need unique perspectives, and our rules are to only have 2 representatives from each side of an issue. So please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Joan Jansen. I'm familiar with you because I was on the Plattsburgh Livability Committee. So I am committed to making Plattsburgh a place that residents want to be and a good environment for all of us. It seems to me that almost everybody who's spoken has talked about how important recreation is and part of the fabric of what makes living here so terrific, why we like being here. And since nobody has really stood up and spoken for the visitors that come to Plattsburgh, I would like to do so. As a former member of the faculty at SUNY in the Hospitality and Tourism program, I can tell you that having a beach and having a marina that attracts visitors to our destination is a little bit like having money that rains down on you. And I would encourage you to not close either one of those, particularly given the statistics that you have regarding the marina. If there's a waiting list to get in there, if we have 100% occupancy at all time, what that tells me is, hey, we have an opportunity to raise some rates and make some money and help make it pay. So I would encourage you to look at all options, and as everybody here has pretty much would agree, there are a lot of ideas around, and I'm glad you're going to be open to them. I look forward to emailing you and providing some specifics, And you seem to be finishing off the question for everybody who comes up here to the podium in terms of what do you suggest, what can you do? I teach Tai Chi at the Wellness Center. It's an 8-week seminar. We meet twice a week. And we learn the first part of the Yang family style set. I would be more than happy to go to the rec center and teach Tai Chi for free. Whatever they want to charge, stick it into the general coffers. It's only going to be a little tiny bit, but if a lot of people join me, it's going to turn into a tidal wave, and that's what we hope for. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Luke Cyphers. I'm a resident of 160 US Oval, right across from the gym. So that's the perspective I'm offering, which hasn't been offered yet, I don't think, a homeowner around there. You can't close it without a plan. Because as a homeowner, I don't want to stare at a big pile of bricks and broken windows. That is my selfish homeowner complaint. My broader community, more community-minded spirit here it has been, I think, I sent it out in an email. I won't go over that today, but I have outlined a lot of ideas there. But one possible solution, there's been a lot more traffic to the Oval. I see it constantly from tournaments. Why not a surcharge, a $3, like a bed tax for every tournament participant, every team that comes in there, for soccer and lacrosse tournaments primarily, perhaps basketball tournaments, that goes to a dedicated fund for the gym. Those people, even the outdoor tournaments on the Oval, they use the bathrooms, they use the facilities. I'll bet you could get Maple Fields to maybe chip in some kind of sponsorship money because they do very well during those tournaments. And there are a million solutions out here, and this sort of hair on fire panic of, oh my God, we've got to close right now is, I think, counterproductive. It hurts the marketing of the city, and I think we can do a better job. Thanks.
Thank you. Any additional speakers tonight on that issue? Any speakers on any additional issues of mutual concern?
I'll have to say something. Every time you ask somebody that stands up here, you say, do you have any solutions? You're the mayor. What are your solutions? You're the one that's running the city. You should have a gazillion million ideas.
Excuse me, you're out of order, ma'am. Step to the microphone. This is a civil discussion.
Right, but why, you're asking us if we have all these any ideas to save the gym. You guys, you're the mayor, you were elected. You must have a million ideas to save the gym. What are your ideas to save the gym?
This, at this point, is a council-driven process, and we're going to allow that process to continue over the next 6 weeks as the budget hearings continue.
Well, so you don't have any solutions?
This is a council-driven process at this point. We're going to allow that process to continue.
Okay, thanks.
Any other individuals like to please come and share their perspectives for the council? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Kelly. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Insel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, so it'll be on the city website. Do you have my email address? Yeah. Is that, are you Melissa? Great. I'm Melissa. So you can email me, I can give you the link. Yeah. All right, good. I don't know about that. Okay. Nice to see you, Rochelle. Good to see you, Dad.
Justin, how you doing? Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
On this issue, probably will come up at least one more time because it'll be more.
Well, I mean, as I said at the end, we're going to shoot for recommendations by November 7th.